Whoa, hey, hi Skye!
Hi Thundercloud!
How are you?
Good.
Hello everyone out there, how are you? Great, yeah, you can't answer. Welcome to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame and Chillin Tuesdays. I'm Thundercloud, this is Skye. I'm not high.
Huh?
I'm not high.
You're not high?
No. Yeah, that rhymes with Skye. Alright, tonight we're doing Mary Gilmore and James McAuley.
Yep.
We'll begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we broadcast, the Kamilaroi and the Banbai people, and acknowledge the continuing connection to the land of the elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. So, yes, today Mary Gilmore, who is also known to me as $10 Mary, because she's on the other side of the $10 note. To $10 Mary, I know. She actually got an Order of Australia, so she's actually pretty good. She lived to 96, nearly 97. Mm-hmm. The other poet we're doing today is James McAuley, who only lived to 59, died of cancer. They both sort of lived through the a similar period, because Mary Gilmore, she was born in, 1865 and died in 1962. James McAuley was born in 1917 and died in 76, I think. What was interesting about them, I guess Mary Gilmore was a member of the utopian, the utopian socialist group, and followed a fella called William Lane all the way to Uruguay, where they set up the colony of New Australia. She did come back here in 1902, or I think 1901, and then it was in her later life that she was really recognised for her work as a poet, as a writer, a prolific writer. A bit more about her from Wikipedia. Here, she was born she wasn't born a dame at all. She was born Mary Jean Cameron. She got damed up later on. In rural New South Wales, spent a childhood near Wagga Wagga. She was a school teacher at the age of 16. Utopian socialism. She went and followed William Lane with 200 others to Paraguay. When she got back, she found work with the Australian Worker as the editor of its women's section, and she held that position until 1931. She also wrote for the Bulletin, the Sydney Morning Herald, and was becoming known as campaigner for welfare for the disadvantaged. Right, so latest recognition came later in life, in the literary world, and kept on publishing right up until her death. Her last book of verse published in 1954 at the age of 89. She lived to 97, very old, and a very prolific poet. One of my favourites. Well, not a favourite, but one that I find most interesting is her 14 Men, which was written about the Lambing Flat riots there in Young, and it's about 14 Chinamen hanging from trees by their pigtails. So, lest we forget the sacrifices and the barbaricness of Australia in the colonial times. It wasn't just the Aboriginal people who suffered, or the convicts. It was pretty horrible. Now, James McAuley, he was born in 1917, and he was a poet, journalist and literary critic. Converted from Anglican to Roman Catholicism later in life, which is kind of uncommon. But he was involved in one of Australia's biggest literary hoax. Now, that's the Ern Malley hoax, where him and Harold Stewart concocted 16 poems, nonsense poems in a pseudo-experimental modernist style. In other words, they just took phrases out of all different places and popped them all together. They sent him off to Max Harris, the editor of Angry Penguins, a poetry magazine, and he actually got put in jail for publishing obscene material. Very interesting. Now here, his political views were pretty much the opposite to Mary Gilmore. So just here it says, Peter Coleman considered that, and here's the quote, no one else in Australian letters has so effectively exposed or ridiculed modernist verse. Yeah, fantastic. Lefty politics or mindless liberalism. So he really was that on that conservative side of the politics. There's a bit further down here. Last thing, he remained staunchly anti-communist throughout his later life. In 1956, he founded the literary and cultural journal Quadrant. And he was a professor of English at the University of Tasmania. His portrait, also a portrait of him, won the Archibald Prize in 1963 as well. What I find really telling, and before we go into any of this poetry here, you're going to be reading out of, what have you got?
Mary Gilmore's Battlefields.
Okay, that's published by probably Angus and Robertson.
Yes.
Yep.
Angus and Robertson.
In 1939. So it's kind of early war poems, so they would have been in the middle of the war, the beginning of the war by then, so Battlefields makes sense. So I've got two James McAuley books. This first one here was published in, and I did have the date, but I totally forgot, 1963. And these were selected by him. And then we've got another... who was that published by? Angus and Robertson, another Angus and Robertson book. James McAuley, Collected Poems, 1936 to 1970. So I've got a few out of this and a few out of that. But what's telling is the preface here, because he ridiculed modernist verse with his Angry Penguin stuff, which it's not what you'd call verse, because it's not rhymed or metered. It's more like free verse, if anything. And when it was put out there, and then when it was read, it was all, oh wow, this is amazing, this poet. But then it was all discovered, it was all garbage. It was just bull. But what here in the preface, and I'm not going to read the whole preface out. A fateful choice for a modern poet lies in the selection of a suitable and congenial kind of verse. I found by experience that I needed the traditional meters, and have since concluded that this is more than an accident of personal preference. As expressed in the end of modernity, subtlety, complexity, and balance are all on the side of the traditional verse. It provides the best combination of freedom and order. I also came by trial and error to the conviction that attempts to free poetic imagination from the frame of rational order were an artistic mistake. He quotes Wordsworth here. The reason is quite simple, that poetry is of the whole man. Wordsmith's remark to the astronomer Hamilton is well justified. The logical faculty has infinitely more to do with poetry than the young and experienced, whether writer or critic ever dreams of. Putting a phrase to the fathers to another use, I would call poetry the rational paradise. So he really, was very... From that, I get he was really staunch about meter, verse, structure, rationality within your poetry. And I know for myself, I write a lot of metered and sort of traditional structured poems, and because that's just what I do. That's how I do it. It just seems to come out. And then other people say, like, how do you do that? That's really hard. Like, rhyming is actually not as easy as it is. But then if you can rhyme it, somehow it is easy. Anyway. So, on that note, would you like to do the first reading?
Sure.
You don't have to. All right, yeah. Mary Gilmore.
Let's start with the waif. I saw him sitting on a fence, little ragged breeches. Knew he hadn't any pence, destitute of riches. Maybe hadn't any sense, as the world would reckon. Yet he saw the great world beckon, little ragged breeches. He had a nose turned to sky, little ragged breeches. Somewhat bold about the eye, humorous in twitches. Seemed the sort says never die, laughed at wind and weather. When he went hell for leather, little ragged breeches. He had a rough and ready tongue, little ragged breeches. Liked to fling out words that stung. Memory gave them niches. Ah, my heart, but he was young to face life's battle, life that held as but a chattel, little ragged breeches.
Yeah, that's cute in a way.
Cute.
Yeah. Kind of sad. You're sort of lamenting the poor kid on the street in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so most of this is rhymed and metered in here. And that was too. Most of Mary's stuff is as well. This one's called by James McAuley, and it's called Sleep. And I'll do this and I'll do another one because it's pretty short. Sleep. The rose that leans its chin upon a curving leaf and looks across the land knows not my grief. The slug that frets the leaf blindly with mincing jaw obeys its life command. Each has a law within it and is free of my hard liberty. Nature is sleep. Beyond that sleep I press, half roused, yet cannot leap to wakefulness. Sleep. And then if we come on over here, the next one I've got for you. To a dead bird of paradise. So James McAuley spent time in Papua New Guinea. Now, at the time, up until I think 1975, Papua New Guinea was a state of Australia. It was a part of Australia. So there were a lot of expats living, going up there and coming back. And on his, when he had to leave, they gave, someone gave him a bird of paradise flower. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're sort of like long stick with a sort of
orange.
Yeah, that's right, and blue, and yeah. And he really, what I was reading about him, he really kind of felt a bit, sad that something should be picked just to give to him that he couldn't really take with him anyway on the plane.
Oh,
Yeah. So, to a dead bird of paradise. Ah, fabulous fancy, now cold and forlorn. Go dwell with the phoenix and unicorn. Your Opaline plumage deep, burning jewel, falls prey to the hand that is cunning and cruel, that grasps at the colour and blots out the spark. Why linger? Naught here can re-illumine the dark. But there your exemplar, the phoenix, survives, unheeded, unheeding. Through myriad lives, it lives in the light, it sings in the fire. Love burns its ecstatic and redolent pyre. Ah, fabled and real, betrayed and forlorn, go dwell with the phoenix and unicorn. Yeah, it's like, send it on its way to its heaven.
Yeah.
It's phoenix, unicorn, heaven, yeah. All right, well, look, my next three here are all about swans. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Skye.
Okay. Got honing up the hill. Blue were the waters, and blue was the sky. Warm was the cover, where the lambs loved to lie. Not a sound I heard in the morning so still, but an old woman honing up the hill. Ockany, she cried, Ockany-aree, bitter were the years that got the best of me. Once I had beauty and love that came at will. Now I'm but an old woman honing up the hill. Glory be, says I to the old woman there. Can't you see the lark with the wings on the air? Says she to me then, you've got youth to your fill. But I'm an old bent woman honing up the hill. Honing up the hill and my back to the sun. Honing up the hill where the long shadows run. Once I had beauty and lovers asked my will. Now I'm but an old grey woman honing up the hill.
Okay, very interesting.
I read it a few times and I'm like, I can't stop singing that bit.
Yeah,
It's just like...
Well, because it's,
Ockany, she cried.
Ockany-aree, Okay. Yeah, well, actually, that's well read. Your reading's really getting heaps better.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we got Mating Swans, Tune for Swans, and Canticle. So they're all about swans.
Cool.
Mating Swans. This kind of like reminds me of here at the Mother of Ducks Lagoon at Gyra. Mating swans. A pair of black swans on the lake twine their necks in amorous play. The cob turns in a swirling wake, treading the maze of love's delay, till she receives him sinking low. Then both their urgent necks lift high, united in a stringent cry, forced from love's exultant throe. Parting as excitement ebbs, they fuss their plumes with busy nebs, shake them smooth and gently glide on the water side by side. They crease the angle of their wake along the liquid depth of sky. White clouds inverted in the lake quiver as they paddle by towards a reed-fringed island where green willows arch their springing shoots, and a frog croaks beneath the roots, and shags hold synod beaks in air. Soon the swan will heap her nest, drawing reeds against her breast, while the watchful cob nearby forbids the world with bright red eye. Yeah, it's interesting if you go for a walk in mating, like in the nesting season. The mother will be on the nest with the eggs or maybe the cygnets. But when you're coming along, the father will come flying in from the other side, go and like sort of skim across the water, like run across the water, but sort of flying, flapping. So you like look at it and you don't go near the nest. It's like a whole sort of like look at me, look over there, I'm here. Yeah. The next one is Tune for Swans. Tune for Swans. Black swan leaving your reedy nest to sail on the waters with quiet breast. While you are far, the grey rat has come, destroying, despoiling, turn again home. Black swan dipping your neck to feed in the half-lit pastures of wavering weed. While you are far, the marauder has come. Where is your treasure now? Turn again home. Yeah. Now, do you know how big a water rat is? The Australian water rats? Like double that size.
Oh, double like that?
Yeah. They're sort of like, they look like an otter. They're huge.
Oh my god.
Like these ones that are down here, like that big. But it's not a rat, it's a marsupial.
Okay, yeah.
It's it's not actually a rat. Okay. Yeah, but it's called a water rat. And they're big. Yeah.
Okay.
But they're quite big, so yeah, they would be sneaking in to get a few of those swan eggs.
For sure.
So the last one here is called Canticle. I don't even know what that means. Canticle. Stillness and splendour of the night, when after slow moonrise, swans beat their wings into the height, seeking the brilliant eyes of water where ponds and lakes look upward as the landscape wakes. The loved one, turning to a lover, splendid, awake and still, receives as the wild swans go over the deep pulse of love's will. She dies in her delight and then renews her tender love again. Where fragrant irises disclose a kingdom to the sense, the ceremony of pleasure goes with stately precedence. Like rich brocade it gleams and glooms through the heart's dim presence rooms. The wagtail in the myrtle tree, who cannot sleep for love, sings all night long incessantly, as if his song could prove what wisdom whispered from the start, that only love can fill the heart. He sang under the boughs of youth, through twisted, shadowed years. He sings in this clear night of truth, and now my spirit hears and sees, when beating wings have gone, the lucid outline of the swan. Yeah, that's good poetry, I think. I like it. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's what you would call beautiful. It's well written. It's got lovely descriptive language. It's emotive. It takes you there. Okay. You're welcome.
Horn mad, I the moon. Horn mad, I the moon. I dancing go over the mountains, to and fro. Beside the brook, twit-woo, a barnyard owl is dancing too. while in the shade a beetle goes and dances there upon his toes. To-wit-to-woo! The howlet sings, the lake is dancing, dancing rings, and on the shore, in silver shoon, dances a jig, the lady moon. To-wit-to-woo! Horn mad I go, over the mountains, to and fro. And once I saw a shroudy oak dance till the 12 beat out the stroke. And once I saw a pine tree tall dance to its shadow over a wall. And once I saw a snouted hog dancing the highway jiggity jog. Now over the mountains to and fro, horn mad, I, the moon, I dancing go.
What was the title of that again?
Horn mad. Horn
I, the moon.
by the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's one. This is called To Any Poet.
Okay.
To Any
That
Poet.
sounds cool.
Take salt upon your tongue, and do not feed the heart with sorrow, darkness, or lies. These are the death of art. Living is thirst for joy, that is what art rehearses. Let sober drunkenness give its splendour to your verses. Move like the sable swan on the luminous expanse, in sight but out of range of barking ignorance. Yeah. A nice little short one, To Any Poet. And then there's one more over here at the back, and then I'll get you to read the next one. I'll go out into this up one after that. Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, I wanted to probably leave this one to last, but I'm not going to. I'll do it now anyway.
Yeah.
It's last in the book.
Okay.
This is called Time Out of Mind. Time out of mind. And out of the heart, too. Yet, I'm not resigned to be what I do. Living. I seem to live outside my nature. Giving myself. I cannot give. True formal feature. In my youth, my range was fear, vanity, lust. Shall I take in exchange fatigue, rage, self-distrust? Only those joys that lie closest to despair are mine to hold on by and keep me clear. Yet at best or at worst, this unknown self will see what its creator first thought it to be. But I shall know this only in knowing my self's self, who is and is the end of my going. The end of my going. My self's self, who is and is the end of my going. Yeah. Tricky. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What is that there?
Okay. Yeah. Once ere she slept. What did she say?
Once ere she slept.
Ere.
It's a death poem.
Once ere she slept. Once ere she slept, she turned, and her head. Can I start
Yeah,
again?
just read it normally.
Once ere she slept, she turned, and her hand crept across the coverlet, and leaned on mine. Upon my cheek the tear lay wet, as I heard her weak, low breath decline, and then it seemed as though a while she dreamed, and once a small smile ran, as when on shore a ripple runs, then still the wan, lost lips as pale as nuns, and smiled no more. I bowed my head above the dead and wept.
Wow. Sad death poem. Okay, here's one. This one's made up of like phrases. It's called the Ballad of Lost Phrases. So they're probably things that, well, back when he wrote this, weren't used anymore. So now they're really outdated, which should be interesting.
Yeah.
In what museum now abide the pamphlets that we read of yore? Where are the orators that cried, "We will not fight a boss's war. The system's not worth fighting for. To hell with the jingo profiteer. The empire's rotten to the core." Where are the phrases of yesteryear? No longer can it be denied. The left book clubs become a bore, where social patriots double-dyed and social fascists too. What's more, we tolerate Sir Samuel Hoare. Churchill now delights the ear, and Beaver Brook is to the fore. Where are the phrases of yesteryear? The party line from side to side zigzagged till our eyes were sore. Can it be the Marxists lied? Peace to the shades of Inprecore. The left wings molting on our shore. I will not fly again, I fear. Freedom has become a whore. Where are the phrases of yesteryear? Envoy. Comrades, we argued, fought and swore. We might as well have stuck to beer. The Japanese are in Johor. Where are the phrases of yesteryear? Yeah, that's like an interesting snapshot of a time.
Yeah.
You can really see from that how he's really anti the left. Like doesn't like the communists. Like where is it? No longer can it be denied. The left book clubs become a bore. Where we are social patriots, double-dyed, and social fascists too, what's more. Yeah. And then he's like, can it be the Marxist lie? And then he even celebrates Churchill. Yeah. Yeah, because Churchill now delights the ear. And this is a guy that was responsible for the death of millions of Indians. In the salt wars and that. Like seriously, has as much to answer for as probably Hitler. Probably not quite, but anyway, that's just my personal opinion, and I'll just keep my opinions to myself. There's another one here, The Art of Poetry.
Oh no. Sounds good.
Yeah, and it's to Vincent Buckley. Since all our keys are lost or broken, shall it be thought absurd if for an art of words I turn discreetly to the word? Drawn inward by his love we trace art to its secret springs. What, are we masters in Israel and do not know these things? Lord Christ from out his treasury brings forth new things and old. We have those treasures in earthen vessels, in parables he told. And in the single images of seed and fish and stone, or shaped in deed and miracle, to living poems grown. Scorn then to darken and contract the landscape of the heart by individual arbitrary and self-expressive art. Let your speech be ordered wholly by an intellectual love, elucidate the carnal maze with clear light from above. Give every image space and air to grow, or as a bird to fly, so shall one grain of mustard seed quite overspread the sky. Let your literal figures shine with pure transparency, not in opaque but limpid wells lie truth and mystery. And universal meaning spring from what the proud pass by, only the simplest forms can hold, a vast complexity. We know where Christ has set his hand, only the real remains. I am impatient for that loss by which the spirit gains. Yeah. Okay. Another one for us.
Contest, I ask. Yeah, contest, I ask. Bite deep, O life, bite deep. I do not fear thy teeth, but as the waves that leap against the rocks that seethe, smite with thy hardened palm my soul, lest it be calm. I do not fear thy life, nor shall my spirit shrink, though thou shalt though thou shalt engine strife, where hope in peace should drink, better to wounded lie than undeclared to die. And I, O life, I would be stirred to the heart's core, as a man is stirred, my good. The blows I meet and bore, so with thee I would strive, that I may stand alive. Pride must have range, the weak may ask their gentle needs, wherein they dwell all meek and soft as sappy weeds. But ever I must cry, give tempest, lest I die.
Yeah, okay. I really like that first verse. There's a bite
deep,
bite deep,
bite deep.
I do not fear thy teeth, but as the waves that leap against the rocks in seethe, smite with thy hardened palm my soul, lest it be calm. Yeah. Wow, that's nice. Yeah. Against the rocks in seethe, smite with thy hardened palm my soul, lest it be calm. Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, well, this one I'm going to read here is called Palm. Basically, it's about a palm tree.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So just imagine a palm tree. Earth, air, water, light, are one with your slender grace. Formed I wisdom to requite the labours of a shadowed race. Upon your sacral column pure, presence to the inward eye, there rests for an entablature the invisible order of the sky. Though in your verdant crown may lurk the crab, the viper and the rat, though you the spirit watchers work their visible magnificat, thread-rooted immobility, lithe in a stationary dance, the whirlwind walking on the sea, cannot overthrow your stance. Far overhead the hornbills ride, and while the southeast season strains, tormented foliage blown one side flares like turning windmill vanes. But mostly, still though trance, O palm, your paradisial plumage rears its fountain, and amidst the calm, a milky flowering spathe appears, which an ascending youth incisors deftly with a bamboo knife, whence a fermenting fluid rises, like joy within the common life. Axis of a world indeed, your tan fruits ripening full, you serve the race as humble need for food and craft and festival. And standing silent in the night, your crown of foliage fills with clear drops of glimmering light, which the serene of heaven distills. Yeah. The serene of heaven distills. That's a really nice line there, with clear drops of glimmering light, which the serene of heaven distills. Yeah. Poets, they have good words, don't they? Have you got any more, or are you all right?
Yeah.
You have. Cool.
Hard to figure out which do you want me next?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I can do a short one.
Well, I got Spider on the Snow. While you're looking, I'll do Spider on the Snow. Spider on the Snow. Gold fire, blue glaze, thin tangle of Cyrus thread. No stir of air, no birds overhead. The fleece of snow sweats crystal in the sun, and secretly 1,000 rivulets run, sinking through lichened rocks gurgling beneath the matted alpines of the springy heath, till the plateau fills full and begins to spill far down the sides. But up here I crouch still, watching in astonishment a small, dark-bodied, red-legged spider steadily crawl across the snow with no concern at all. Yeah.
I'll read The Promise. It's a short one. Yeah. The Promise. Worn as by famine, I shall come, a beggar at your gate. I shall not speak, I shall be dumb, yet shall I stand elate. I shall not speak, nor you, though all is waiting to be said. Yet you will answer to my call, your hands give me my bread.
Okay, well this one, I was looking at this and thinking, why have I got that marked? And I was going to read the one underneath it called Starlings, but actually this is late Sunday afternoon.
Okay, that sounds good.
Muddy pools along the road, mirror with a failing light, grey ragged clouds in a pure height, which at a passing will explode. In the wet park, July feels strange, bronze foil and russet overlap, new shoots of green, black starlings clap, their yellow beaks announcing change. Candles gleam, a bell is rung, the faithful move towards the bread. I shudder with desire and dread, tasting death upon my tongue. Yeah. Okay, you okay? Yeah.
Okay, I'll do this one. All yesterday she sat with her lost youth, and she nor kissed its lips, nor touched its hand, nor even guessed, till night had come, what drought had stolen the young year's promised land. For all day talk had been of, have you seen? Do you remember? Did you recollect? And not till night had shown what might have been. She knew what cargo had been wrecked. He was a man, grown white beneath the years, who indeed days had bent and kissed her hand. She was a woman whose long-hindered tears bruised her eyes, life's deep demands.
Got another one about a swan. With a swan in it. Yeah. Nocturnal. I walked abroad at night, out of the world's heat where our hopes were dying. Low in the northern sky, full spanning bright, the swan was flying. Seaward, as if to quit the shore that heeded its design no more. I cried, but do not depart, bright image of desire. If you forsake us, dishonour in our deeds, death in our art will overtake us. Your wings, beats, O celestial swan, are all that makes the heart go on. It seemed that it replied, do not complain if absence rules the season. The works of men are freighted on the tide, whose secret reason moves also the bright signs above. Turn back and fight the wars of love. Yeah. Well, we're done, eh?
Yeah.
That's it. Well, and you out there, you're not done yet, because like in the description there is a link to a GoFundMe donation campaign where you can actually go right now and donate, because we've put in a good hour and a bit, and plus all of the background work, plus the uploading to bring you a wonderful night of poetry here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Yeah. We do this every Tuesday. So if you could support us by going to GoFundMe and making a lovely donation, that would be really appreciated. All right. Well, if you've liked this, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and please leave a comment, because it helps the web metrics and it helps it get it out there and people to find it and stuff. So it's really good if you can do that. Yeah. And tomorrow night we've got Wednesday Words here. Yes. The 25th of March, we've got Fiore Musicale coming to do J.S. Bach's St. John Passion. Tickets are $35, $30 for concession, but it's well worth it. It's the best sound of singing you will hear in New England, here in the Arcadia Theatre, and Fiore Musicale will prefer it here to Taz because the acoustics is so good. They can hear themselves. And then, so that's the 25th of March. It's a Saturday at 3 o'clock. And then on the 1st of April, it's a Saturday night. We've got the Fool's Bush Dance with the Big Hairy Bush Dance Band. Yeah, it's a Fool's Bush Dance. I don't know, you can wear a foolish hat. Yeah, you can dress up as a jester, or you can just jester come as a just you want to. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Other exciting news here. Oh, yes, we have a heat of the Australian Poetry Slam coming here to Guyra, to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, August 16th and 17th. It's a Tuesday and Wednesday. The Tuesday there will be poetry workshop, the Slam Poetry Workshop, and on the 17th there will be the Australian Poetry Slam heat here. Now, if you're not sure what is slam poetry, it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as slam poetry. What there is a poetry slam, which is an event where poets get up. They've got pretty much 2 minutes they walk out on stage, they go 2 minutes and then walk off. And the scores are given by 5 random people in the audience, usually picked by throwing random chocolates at people. And that's a poetry slam. That's what it is. Now, if you're interested, the reason we've got it here in Guyra is to give you, the rural poets, a regional gig, so that you have the opportunity to get to the state final and the national final in Sydney, which is fantastic. So they're coming here. That's middle of August, 16th and 17th. And then 9th, 10th and 11th of November, we're having a poetry festival and competition here. I'm still wondering what on earth I'm going to name it. Today I was thinking Gondwanaland Poetry Competition. No, Australian Poetry Competition. There was one like about 10 years ago, but there hasn't been one since. Run by Sydney Poetry, but then they didn't actually title it that. The name's up for grabs, so I can buy the business name and then like lock it up. So thinking about that Australian Poetry Festival. Sounds pretty boring name though, doesn't it? Yeah. Bland, yeah. Anyway, maybe we do it by a theme. Anyway, that's coming up in November, so that's quite some time away. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us tonight here on Chillin Tuesday. Listen to our poetry of James McAuley and Mary Gilmore. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.